If you're planning a trip to Fairbanks, Alaska, you might be asking yourself, what is there to do? Well, as luck would have it, recently my friends and I headed up there and we spent a weekend in Fairbanks. And today I'd like to show you all the things that we got to experience while we were there and give you some ideas that might help you plan your trip to Fairbanks. As you make your way north along the Richardson Highway to Fairbanks, you're probably going to want to grab a bite to eat, so why not stop in Delta Junction at the Buffalo Center Drive-In. Here you'll find everything from buffalo burgers, popcorn shrimp, chicken tenders, and more. A quick meal that's sure to satisfy everyone in your crew, including your four-legged friend. If you only have a short period of time to take in the sights in Fairbanks, why not hit up the Ice Museum? This is a museum that showcases the work of Alaskan Native ice sculptors. And don't worry, they do provide coats. So if you don't have a coat with you when you arrive, they'll give you one. But this museum is fully interactive, which allows you to ham it up for the camera, as my friend and I are doing here. You can touch the ice, and you might be surprised that it feels dry to the touch while you're doing so. And you can even ride on some of the sculptures and get your picture taken that way. As I mentioned, this is a fully interactive museum. You can watch some of the artisans sculpt ice if you're lucky enough to get there while they're doing so. Otherwise, you can have a little fun by going down the slide like my friend is going to do here. Just a short walk down the road from the Ice Museum, you'll find your way to the Alaska Dog Mushers Museum, which is housed on the second floor of a mall. Now, before you make your way upstairs to the museum, be sure to check out all the local wildlife. No, I'm not talking about the other visitors. I'm talking about all the taxidermy that they have displayed throughout the mall. Everything from bear and lynx, as you see here, to a giant moose, and much, much more. If you have little ones with you, they're sure to enjoy this part of the museum. Once you make your way up to the Dog Mushers Museum, though, you're going to find a museum that gives you an in-depth look not only at the life of dog mushers and those that use the mushing dogs to get them from point A to point B for things like gold panning and the Iditarod Trail. Again, remember that was to save the town of Nome from a diphtheria epidemic. But also the museum features exhibits on the Klondike Gold Rush, early Fairbanks history, the Great Flood of 1967, as well as the earthquake of 1964, winter in Fairbanks, and the driving spirit of the Dog Mushing Museum, which features a detailed history of the use of dog sleds in the far north. Now remember, admission to this museum is free, but donations are greatly appreciated. And I have to admit, they do have quite the exhibit here and so much to take in. Just a short drive from downtown and you'll make your way to the Fountainhead Antique Auto Museum. This auto museum allows you to step back into an amazing time in history due to its world-class collection of vintage automobiles and period fashions that are complemented by fascinating exhibits, accessories, photographs, and archival videos. There is so much to take in at this museum that you could literally get lost in here for hours. One of the most amazing things about this museum is that all but 3 of the museum's cars are operable, and many get driven on a regular basis as weather permits. It's a living museum, and it's home to over 95 pre-World War II automobiles, with 65 to 75 stunningly lit and staged rare automobiles at all times. This expansive collection encompasses horseless carriages, steamers, electric cars, speedsters, cycle cars, midget racers, and so much more. Not only do you get to take in the beautiful sights of all of these antique cars, but you get to learn about some pretty unique ingenuity as well, such as this porcupine car. Well, it's called the old porcupine because its radiator had over 1,750 quills on it, if you will, that helped to keep the car cool because there was more surface area for the cold air to reach. Pretty unique and pretty cool. No pun intended. Now, ladies, if your husband's taking you there, you're going to want to take your time and check out all of the amazing fashions that they have displayed throughout the museum. You're bound to fall in love with something. And speaking of love, some of these cars were made out of love, such as this automobile here that was made by an Alaskan 22-year-old who had never even seen a car before. He made it in hopes of winning the heart of a girl of his dreams. But did he win her heart? Well, you'll have to come to the museum and check it out for yourself to find out the whole story. A lot of the parts and pieces used to make this car had been salvaged. But if you take a close look at these wheels, you'll find that he put the treads on by using old fire hoses, presumably because the tread had worn away from the original rubber tires. Now, if you're wearing out the tread on your shoes and you would like to take a break, you can always grab a seat and check out some vintage footage of what it was like to drive in the early days here in Alaska. And if you thought the roads were rough where you live, well, this footage might make you appreciate what you have, because here they are clearing a rock slide off of the road leading through Keystone Canyon on the way down to Valdez. And oh my, I can't even imagine having to do that, though it still happens today. But I wouldn't take a nice fancy car through a road like that, but they sure did. Not only did they drive them on those rough roads, but they drove them on these rickety, rinky-dink little ferries to get across the waterways here. Oh, they had a lot more gumption than I have, that's for sure. The Fountainhead Auto Museum also has a one-of-a-kind vehicle. Literally, this was the only one ever produced. This 1927 Lincoln is the most amazing car that I have seen ever in my life. Can you even imagine having 3 windshields in the vehicle? It is so beautiful. But like I said, it is one of a kind. Just check out the craftsmanship on this Lincoln. I mean, from the side lights to the side view mirrors, which are strapped to your spare tire. I guess if you had a blowout, you wouldn't have a side view mirror anymore either. But speaking of beautiful cars, when I was growing up, my dad had a model of a Duesenberg that he kept in a glass case on his bar, and I admired that car so much. So when I saw this one in the museum, I was blown away to actually see one in person. And I was telling the gentleman about my dad's model of a Duesenberg, a model of this exact car. And he happened to share some footage with me of the owner after swapping out a motor in the Duesenberg and getting it up and running. Just listen to that engine purr. Such a beautiful car. Our next stop is the farthest north botanical gardens in America. That would be the Georgeson Botanical Gardens, located on the campus of the University of Alaska Fairbanks. This garden is recognized nationally for its abundance of herbs, ornamental trees, vegetables, and flowers that flourish within 100 miles of the Arctic Circle, as well as its 139 varieties of peonies. These things are important to me because, as you might know, if you've seen some of my previous videos, I am in the midst of planting a garden that will go in front of my cabin. And I want to make sure that whatever gets planted in there has a chance of surviving. Well, if it can survive the temperatures in Fairbanks, it surely can survive the cold and frigid winters that I experience. Here at my cabin, the temperatures typically drop down to about -40 in the wintertime. Now, the Georgeson Gardens sits on 9 acres, which are cultivated, and it sits on the eastern side of Fairbanks Experiment Farm, a facility established in 1906 that is also part of the University of Alaska in Fairbanks Agricultural and Forestry Experiment Station. The gardens are open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., starting from Memorial Day all the way through Labor Day. So if you need a place to bring the kids, to let them run off a little bit of steam and be out in nature without being in fear of the wildlife, this might be the place to come. There's lots of things to see. Beautiful gardens abound, as you can imagine. But there are things for the little ones to do as well, including a giant maze that they can go through. Now, if you would like to see what's at the center of this maze, you're going to have to bring the little ones and let them find it for themselves. Of course, adult supervision is recommended. On the other side of the campus, you'll find Alaska's Museum of the North, a natural history museum that features over 2,000 years of Alaska art from Alaska Native cultures, natural wonders, and diverse wildlife. With a cultural and natural history gallery that explores Alaska's 5 geographic regions through a selection of the museum's 2.5 million objects and artifacts. Here you can learn about the people, wildlife, geography, and the history of each region. From natural history to recorded history, you'll be able to explore Alaska through the objects in the museum's collections. Killer whale. Look at how small he is compared. After all this sightseeing, you're bound to be hungry again, so why not hit up the Creperie? Now, I'm not sponsored by anybody or any place, but I do absolutely love the Creperie. This is one of my favorite restaurants. Whether you're looking for something sweet or something savory, this place is the place to go. You can watch your crepes being made, as everyone is made fresh and made to order. And you can also get a nice, delicious coffee or tea to go with your meal. And once you're done here, it's probably time to head back south. So from here, we're going to hit up the Santa Claus shop. Located about 10 miles south of Fairbanks along the Richardson Highway in the small town of North Pole, you'll find Santa Claus. Well, you'll find the Santa Claus house. Santa Claus himself is only there from Wednesday through Sunday, and they're open most days out of the year except for some holidays. But if you love Christmas as much as most people do, then this is a place that you're going to want to check out for sure. And if you have the little ones with you, you might want to bring them back where they can see Santa's reindeer up close and personal. They might even get the opportunity to pet one while they're there. And in case you didn't know it, when you or your little ones send a letter to Santa, care of the North Pole, it comes right here. And those letters get answered directly by Santa Claus's elves. But don't tell the little ones, but rumor has it that those elves are actually the North Pole High School students. Nonetheless, they'll help to keep the dream alive for them. And once you enter the Santa Claus house, the dream will come alive for you too, with all its magic and glory. There is so much to be seen in here that it's almost overwhelming. I say almost, but you can take your time perusing through the aisles and taking in all the sights and sounds and the smells, because they do have a bakery here, and it smells fantastic, by the way. But you'll find everything that you can imagine regarding Christmas here, including some Alaska-themed ornaments. Now, while you're here in the Santa Claus shop, you'll also have the opportunity to see Santa's workshop, see where all the magic happens behind the scenes and where all these goodies happen to be made. But if the little ones are with you, they can also sit on Santa's lap and tell Santa about all the things that they want for Christmas. Just make sure that they've been good, because you know Santa's going to ask whether they were naughty or nice. And stick with me, because we got one more stop to hit on our way out of town here, and that's the Naughty Shop. It's not naughty like you might be thinking, especially after leaving the Santa Claus house, but it's naughty as in the burls or the knots that grow on spruce trees, Knotty. Here you're going to find last-minute gifts and souvenirs that you may have forgotten to pick up on the rest of your travels. And while you're here, make sure that you get an ice cream cone. It's rather delicious, and Kenai can attest to it. So pick up one for yourself and your friends, whether they're two-legged or four-legged friends. My goal on this channel is to show you as much of Alaska as possible, and there is way more in Fairbanks to do than I could include in one little video. But if you're planning on leaving via the Parks Highway and heading down towards Anchorage, you might want to stop into Denali. And if so, you might want to check out this video here before you do. Until next time, please stay safe and take care. And I look forward to seeing you in the comments.